7 o'clock, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thank you indeed. I wish to call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everyone in the gallery today. And I want to acknowledge on behalf of the Village of Harrison Hot Springs that we are on traditional Stolo Stalis territory, who have acted as stewards of this land for many years, and hopefully we can continue to act as stewards in continuance. The first item, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, that we have number 2, introduction of late items. Do you have any late items?
There are no late items of which I'm aware.
Thank you. We'll move on to approval of the agenda then, please.
We have the agenda before us. I need a motion. Councillor Vidal and Councillor Hooper. All in favor, please. Okay. And before I continue, I should have just stopped for a second and indicated that, of course, Councillor Piper is on Zoom tonight, and Mayor Facio is away this evening. That brings us next to the next item, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll move on to number 4. We have adoption of council minutes. We have the regular council meeting minutes of September 19, 2022 here for adoption, please.
So that would be our next motion. I need a mover, please. And I've got Councillor Piper, Councillor Vidal. All in favor, please. Okay. Opposed, if any? None. Next, please.
The next set of minutes is from the special council meeting minutes of September 23rd, 2022, also here for adoption.
So we need a second motion, a further motion, please. We have Councillor Piper and a seconder from Councillor Vidal. Any questions or comments? All in favor, please. Opposed, if any?
Thank you. And finally, we have the public hearing record of September 20, 2022, also here for adoption.
Require a motion, please. Councillor Vidal. Councillor Piper. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is number 5. Is there any business arising from the minutes?
None apparently.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll move right on through to number 10, as there are no items on the agenda until we get to reports of councillors, committees, commissions, and committee of the whole.
So we'll start with Councillor Hooper, please.
Yeah, good evening. On the 20th of September, I attended a Zoom meeting and webinar from the BCCRN on elder abuse and the neglect laws in BC. Again, on the 20th of September, I attended a Zoom meeting and training with the Taramac Institute on what is climate equality. On the 28th of September, I attended a Zoom meeting and training again with the Taramac Institute on getting equality on the political agenda, sorry. And on the 28th of September, I attended a Zoom meeting of the Alzheimer's Society of BC on getting to know dementia, responding to a diagnosis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hooper. I note I am next, so very quickly, I did attend the Fraser Valley Regional Library Board, my last meeting for that organization. And of course, secondly, Public Art Committee, the last meeting we had with that was prior to our last council meeting. And I would assume there'll be no further meetings of that committee since its mandate has been fulfilled to have a recommendation that was passed by council. I'll ask Councillor Piper, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On September 20th and 23rd, I attended meetings of council. I attended on September 21st, the Harrison Tourism Society Board of Directors meeting as a council liaison. Some updates are on events. They noted that Canada Day was one of the biggest and most successful Canada Days in Harrison from the last 10 years. So that's exciting. Bands on the Beach was a very successful weekend, the largest crowd in 10-year history of the event. Season of the Wild will kick off on October 12th. Other upcoming events include Lights by the Lake, which will arrive in November, and the Christmas Tree Trail. That's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Piper. Next, Councillor Vidal, please.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Palmer. On September 20th, I attended the scheduled public hearing. On September 22nd, I attended an Agassiz Harrison Healthy Communities meeting. On September 23rd, I attended a scheduled special council meeting. On September 27th, on behalf of council, I attended and had the opportunity to address the BC Hydro Pioneers Jamboree Dinner, which was held at the resort. This is an amazing organization made up of both current and retired BC Hydro employees who raise funds for Children's Hospital, schools, and food banks. On September 29th, on behalf of council, I attended the Walk for Truth and Reconciliation, which was organized and hosted by Stahalis. It was an absolutely amazing morning. The weather cooperated. It was a wonderful event, and I want to extend my thanks to all who participated. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next item, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll move on. There are no items on item 11, 12, 13. We'll move on to new business. Do you have any new business?
I'm not aware of any new business coming forward.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 15, and that's questions from the public pertaining to agenda items only. Tyler, do we have anyone appearing by Zoom?
Anybody on Zoom? If you could please use the raise your hand option. We'll call on you if you have any questions. Looks like we don't have any questions.
Are there any questions from the floor?
There we go. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. John Allen, 398 Hot Springs Road. My question relates to the minutes of the public hearing record. It's not called minutes, it's called a record. I'm not sure if that's correct. And my question is, there were a number of written submissions that were made for the public hearing, and my understanding is that those are supposed to be included in the record or minutes of the public hearing, so they form a permanent part of that record. And people who've taken the trouble to put pen to paper or finger to keyboard to express their views on the bylaw are thereby afforded the opportunity of having their views recorded for posterity and for council's consideration. So my question is, why were none of those written submissions included in the record of the public hearing as they are done in other municipalities?
Firstly, the submissions, of course, were circulated as part of the record that was provided to council prior to the meeting. Now, the question as to them being in the minutes, my understanding of that they're not appropriately part of the minutes, that they're part of that presentation that was circulated prior to the determination at the council meeting. So I acknowledge that they're not part of the minutes. Normally, our minutes do not have appendices attached thereto. So I would take it that they have been distributed, they have been made public, They have been made available to counselors. They form part of the discussion, but that's not appropriate for them to be part of the minutes themselves.
Well, perhaps not appropriate in Harrison, but it certainly seems to be the case in other municipalities. My other concern about the minutes or the record of that public hearing is that those of us who expressed opposition to the bylaw, and most of the speakers were opposed to bylaw 1184, instead of that being accurately recorded in the record, we have been denigrated in our concerns, and now we're worried about it or we're concerned about it. And that language does not accurately record the level of concern or the fact that people are and were at that meeting speaking in opposition to bylaw 1184. It raises an issue that when I speak to council, I have a reasonable expectation that my comments be accurately recorded in the minutes. That hasn't always been the case. And I think that's unfortunate, and it's an act of disrespect to those who take the trouble to speak to council, not to accurately record their comments. And this seems to be a good example of that, because concerned and worried is not the same as somebody standing up and saying, I'm opposed to this bylaw for these reasons. And I don't think that the record of the public hearing is accurate. And I think there should be an opportunity for the public before minutes are adopted to express their misgivings about those minutes and to ask for their comments, which have been recorded inaccurately, to be restated the way that they spoke their comments at the time of the meeting. So can council find some way to make those minutes a more accurate record of the public hearing?
As Mr. Allen knows, I wasn't present at the public hearing, so I'm not going to make comments about what was said or the representation of what was said at the public hearing. The issue of minutes is a very involved issue. Many organizations, including some councils, simply record resolutions and generally don't put matters of discussion into the minutes, so that the comments of individuals would not always appear. It would be uncommon for a council to allow the minutes to be determined by an outside group, including the participants. So that's an interesting thought. I'm not saying it's a bad thought, but it certainly wouldn't run consistent with the normal practice of the minutes of a council meeting of whatever nature being the minutes of the council. In there, if you're suggesting it requires approval of an outside group, your thoughts are. I certainly will consider your thoughts. Personally, I'm not sure if there's a great value in that, but I do see your point. There's always a desire to be transparent and always a desire to record things properly. So I'm sure that can be considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any other questions? Well, perhaps I've been part of history on one of the shortest council meetings in Harrison Hot Springs history. Anyway, next.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're looking for a motion to adjourn.
And a motion, please. Yes, Councillor Vidal, seconded by Councillor Piper. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks for all who attended.